Welcome to the Colonial Waterbird Program Training video series. This video covers how to record information about a disturbance when you see one at your colony. This video will include the motivation for recording disturbances at breeding colonies, an overview of the disturbance section on the datasheet, descriptions of the different categories for a disturbance and colony reactions, and some example scenarios and datasheets. Data from the Colonial Waterbird program can be used to understand breeding waterbird populations and how they change through time. Two of our key questions are, what factors predict high or low breeding productivity? And what predicts colony establishment, longevity, and collapse? Disturbances such as habitat change, predator presence, or human activity can have significant impacts on bird behavior and influence the long-term health of a colony. By collecting detailed information on these disturbances and how the birds respond, we provide clues to the causes of changes in nest numbers and success over time. To address these questions, volunteers will record significant changes to the colony, human disturbances, and other observations about the habitat or predators in the area. How do you know what constitutes a disturbance to the colony? When in doubt, we ask that you record anything that you see. It's better to have extra information in this case. Even if you don't observe a reaction from the birds, we still want you to record the presence of people or potential predators near the colony. These types of disturbances can cause hidden physiological responses that could ultimately impact reproductive success. You will use this table to report any disturbances that you directly observe or can infer about your colony. Having this information as a structured table will make it possible for us to analyze and use the information on the scale of the whole Bay Area. Let's walk through each of the columns. The first thing that we want you to note is whether the disturbance is something that you directly observed, like a predator, or something that you can infer happened between visits based on remaining evidence. For example, if you arrived to see the branches or foliage were shorter than on your previous visit, you can infer that tree trimming took place. To know which category to use, simply ask yourself whether you watched the disturbance take place or not. If you saw the disturbance occur during your visit, use observed. Use inferred for all other disturbances. You will assign disturbances to one of 7 categories. Avian refers to the presence of other birds that could negatively impact waterbirds by predation, harassment, or competition. Primarily, this means predators like raptors, but it could include disturbances caused by other waterbirds. Mammal is for predators like foxes, but also dogs on or off leash that approach the colony. If you see signs of predation like eggshells, but did not witness it happen, you can use the unknown predator category. Weather disturbances include flooding that impacts the nesting area or wind events that may knock down trees or nests. Human is the broadest category and encapsulates the presence of people within 100 meters of the colony and human activity around the colony like construction or tree trimming. You should take every precaution to avoid disturbing the birds with your presence, but if you do notice that you're having an impact on the birds, adjust your behavior or location and record an observer disturbance. Finally, if you see evidence that the colony was disturbed between visits, but don't have enough clues to tell you what happened, you can use the unknown category. You only need to record 1 row for each disturbance. For example, if you see 3 pedestrians during your survey, you only need to record 1 disturbance and the number of pedestrians can go in the notes. The result codes are for recording the severity of the disturbance. If there are multiple reactions, record the highest code that you witnessed within the colony. For example, if some of the birds had a behavior reaction but others did not, you would still record a 1. Nest failure means that a subset of nests were destroyed or failed, while colony abandonment means that all of the birds left before the completion of the breeding season. Dead birds or chicks means full or partial nest failure and should receive a reaction code of 2. Category 4 is for pre-season disturbances and is only relevant to disturbances that you infer during your first visit of the season. For example, if you discover that the nesting tree was cut down. The description is where you can provide any details that will help us understand exactly what happened and how the birds responded. Information that might be helpful includes the frequency of a disturbance, did it happen once or repeatedly, or how close it was to the colony. For the bird's reaction, describe the extent of the impact on the colony and how long any behavioral disturbances lasted. Let's walk through some examples. Midway through the season, you observe that your birds are all gone, and many branches on your nesting tree have been trimmed back with visibly clear cuts. What would you record in this scenario? Though you are now observing evidence that the tree was trimmed, you weren't there to see it happen, so this would be an inferred observation. Based on the clean cuts, it is highly likely that it wasn't a natural occurrence, so the type can be human. Since the entire colony was in that tree and you didn't observe any re-nesting, the result is colony abandonment. What would you record in the following scenario? While you are surveying, you see an off-leash dog run up to where birds are nesting on the ground. The adults flush. A minute later, the dog's owner calls it back and the birds settle back down. You witnessed the disturbance happening, so it is an observed event. While there was a human involved, the dog was the primary disturbance, so it is a mammal disturbance type. The birds were disturbed, but you didn't see any damage to nests, so you choose result code 1. What would you record in the following scenario? Your colony is in a park with a 4th of July fireworks show. When you arrive to survey a few days later, you notice a larger number of live chicks on the ground under nesting trees. Chicks do fall out of nests, especially as they get closer to fledging. But if you see an unexpectedly large number and know of a possible disturbance, it's worth making a note. When in doubt, provide more information for later reference. Adults can continue to care for chicks on the ground, so it's not clear whether the chicks will die and lead to nest failure. In this case, noting a behavioral response is the best fit. If you were to see a large number of dead chicks on the ground, then nest failure would be the best fit. What would you record in the following scenario? Your birds nest in trees right next to or over a walking trail. Every time you visit, there are people walking on the trail. You never observed any behavior that looks like a reaction from the birds. Although birds may not show a behavioral response to this disturbance, there may be other effects such as increased stress hormones or lower reproductive success, all of which have been documented in animals. Recording the human disturbance during each visit will give researchers valuable information about the levels of stress that your colony experiences. You should record human and animal disturbances even if you observe no behavioral response, if they are within 100 meters of your colony.